Okay, so I figured I'd make this little video as far as how to use OrganizeBy. So the concept's pretty simple. It's assuming that, you're either using like PhotoDay, Got Photo, or, any of those volume photography workflow services for selling. A lot of them give you an option to export a CSV file. Um, so something like PhotoDay, what's really awesome is you can use the Capture app, and you'd be able to then take reference photos and then let PhotoDay, do all the sorting for you essentially. So I kind of compounded on top of that because I also use Pixnub Spa, and so like Team Builder, you need to have your team or your class if you're doing class composites. Those all need to be, separated by folder in order for Spa to work. So me and my wife, after hours of, sitting there manually moving photos and always missing something, like, hey, let's do something about that. So this is where we're at. So on the left hand side you can see Organize By. So this is the main interface of the application. I have a sample folder open up here so that way we can see it in real time what the application does when I run it. And then we also have a CSV sample data sheet. So these are actual images that my wife took. I obviously got rid of the names. So in this case, we're using division as our sort folder. So as you can see, 2-year, 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 4MAR, 4MAR. Yeah, so pretty much those are just, I just kind of threw whatever in there, just testing things out, having things like hyphens and underscores, stuff like that tends to throw off various applications. So in any case, what the application does when you select your CSV, so in here, this case in the sample folder, we're gonna grab this CSV file. So this is the same one that's open here. And now it's actually going to work to auto detect which columns. So as you can see, it automatically knew, hey, you want to create folders with your division column. And then, hey, your file names are here, they're in the photo column. So, because it does differ, right? So if you're doing an export from PhotoDay, or if you have CSV data that you're using for Pixnub, instead of photo, it's going to be SPA for sports photo automation. So this will kind of work towards that. So what it's doing is in the file names, it's looking for a photography, like an image file, a photo extension. So JPEG, PNG, TIFF, PSD. I mean, just even raw formats, I have it checked for. So pretty much any photo extension, it's going to automatically detect that as your file name column. And then for the folders, it's actually being a little bit more tricky. So something like the student ID, that's unique per child. Something like names, you might have a couple repeating, but for the most part, they're going to be unique, right? And even if you have other columns of data, what it's looking for is repetitive, but not the whole row being repetitive, right? So like if your division was all just one team, or if that label is team, it doesn't matter. It would be, instead of looking for specific column headers, it's trying to intuitively identify. So any case, so we got our CSV selected. Now we're going to select our image folder. So that's just the sample folder in my downloads here. So now it shows that, hey, I found 13 images in this directory. I found 10 rows of data. So there's going to be 3 images left over. And that's actually by design. It's not gonna, I built it to work non-destructively. So that's the idea. So once we go ahead and we're gonna run the organizer, so you can see in real time how it moved those files into those folders, and the 3 files that it didn't find CSV data for were left in that folder, and that's because they don't exist in the photo column, so it didn't know to reference that. Now alternatively, if you do have data but the image isn't found, it'll actually make a text file in your output directory with any missing photos. And so it's like, hey, there's CSV data for this within this folder, but there was no file to correlate to that. So I try to make it as simple as and intuitive as possible, but that's all there is to it. There are some additional options. I'll go ahead and kind of go over that now. Probably should have done that one first, but let me just pull these back out to get back to a regular working directory. So those need to go into sample. Do the same for these guys. back out. And then just in an effort to work with clean, we'll go ahead and move that to trash. All right. And so now all those files are back there. So now I'm actually going to hit the settings option here. So up in the top right, there's a little settings gear. And so this changes the mode, right? So we were in move mode. So that actually physically moved the files. If you're concerned with disk space, that would be the way to do it so you don't end up with duplicates. However, if you prefer to have duplicates, you can also copy files. You can also, it's off by default, but you are able to select to overwrite existing files in the destination. You can also turn off the log for missing photos if you're not interested. But the same, and then you can also set an output folder. So if you don't want it in the same folder of your images, of your selected images, then you can also designate a specific place on your system for that. So I'll go ahead and just rerun this. So since it's in copy mode, let me just, so now it's in copy mode. So now I'm going to run the organizer again. So as you can see, it did the same thing, except this time it duplicated the files. So, and again, those 3 files are still those 3 that aren't referenced in the photo column, those are still there. So, but that's pretty much how you run it, how it works. I try to make it as simple as possible. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You most likely found this by communicating with me on Facebook in the PhotoDay group. So, but I was asked if there's any video just to kind of help it out. So, this is the best I could do. I don't have a Mac personally. I'm trying to, with this application, I'm trying to raise funds to get one. So that way, because I do have other ideas. There are other applications I made for PhotoDay specifically. Another big one is the 15 megabit file limit. So that's probably going to be my next attempt, is I'm going to work on refactoring that for macOS and getting that distributed out as well. I know the cost might be a little high on the OrganizeBy, but in reality it's just so that way I can recoup costs and hopefully get a Mac. That way I can keep developing applications. I mean, I have some ideas. I'm definitely open for feedback from any of you buddy that's using this. Any errors, definitely let me know and I'll get those fixed and addressed right away. Hopefully this helps you save some time. Ultimately, that's what I made it for. I mean, granted, I have spent a lot of time making it, but there's benefit, and I'm not the only one that can benefit from it. So I'm just happy that other people are using it. So, well, that's all I got. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. Have a good day.